It's your Thursday edition of Bet Doctor. My name's Samantha Jane Todd. I'm your host and I'm joined by Scoot and DK. Boys, it's been a huge one.
We're up and about today, Scooty.
Yeah. Scooty's got a bit of a reveal for us.
Feels like a bit of a gender reveal, but I might as well get it out of the way. Ta-da! The real Slim Shady.
It's already gone yellow. I don't know how I feel about it.
Well, the worst thing is I'm starting to use my partner Alana's, it's like a purple shampoo. I didn't even know that women did this, but this is to try and keep it blonde. So when I got it done at Adam and Weave on Monday, when they bleached it, I looked like a canary. And then so a couple of doses
like
of toner.
Pikachu?
Yeah, I look like Pikachu. That'll do. But hats off to the guys on the Lone Wolves. I stuck to my guns. If they got the $500,000 bank, I said I'd bleach my hair, so I've done it. But it was a bit of a process, and I'm just trying to duck and cover. I guess everyone's still under like a COVID blanket, so it's not until this weekend when I go home and see the family for the first time in about 8 months that I'll cop a really big pasting. But
having met your dad on Friday night, I don't know how he's going to cop this. Beautiful work though by you following through with that.
Yeah, it was an amazing night, wasn't it? DK, you tuned in from home, but SJT was there. I thought she was on fire. But to turn a bank from 133 to 500,000 is just phenomenal. I don't know much about dogs, but they just smashed it out of the park, didn't they?
Smashed it out of the park with the results and the insight, and wasn't it fantastic? You probably say, how would you have thought about it? Maybe if they didn't win, they blasted away at the finish and results didn't go away, would you still enjoyed it and got something out of it? I reckon everyone would have said yes. I reckon the boys were fantastic with their pre and particularly their post-race interview, assessments and things like that. And then to get the results, I mean, off to a flyer, 10,000 on the first winner, obviously the big cup result, and then just brushed home with the lazy 10,000 on the 15 into 7 for the cream. So
it was crazy. Yeah, I don't know if greyhounds have seen a $40,000 bet at $7 on a Melbourne Cup winner for a very long time.
How good Tristan and Top Sport for taking that. That was also they taking the bets and that's all part of it. So and so the boys are up and about. That you can't help but get emotionally, fired up. I don't know how they like at home normally, those boys, but I saw them up and about there cheering them home. It's you feel not the pressure, but you feel there is a weight. You want the people to win.
Yeah, exactly.
Desperate for everyone to win.
600 punters.
600 punters. They're all invested in you. They want to win. You want to win for them. And so you let it out. That's the emotion which we saw in all the live streams.
I did love how in the group chat there was a little screenshot sent the next day by a couple of the boys. Was it Troy or Paddy who sent it in?
Yeah, if Troy was it Troy on the seats and he was doing sort of the windmills, like he was up and about. He's up out of the chair, and at one stage, halfway through the night, he knocked over one of the chairs. And Troy is a pretty cool, calm, collected guy, and it's not usual for me to see him carry on with so much emotion. That's probably what makes him such a good punter. But there's a couple of things, like some really key takeaways that I think you can transfer across to a couple of different disciplines, not just the greyhounds. I thought their profiling of the dogs and knowing the dogs and their characteristics were huge. If you want to take on the robots, and this is probably something that you can talk to DK, to know those horses inside out, that gives you a distinct advantage over the data models.
Yeah, that's why exactly, and that's why I specialise only on that one pool of horses, the maidens specifically. I do watch everything else and keep an eye on everything, but to try and know those horses inside out, that's where the video comments, any little things you can put in, mannerisms, manners, jockey change, anything to do with that horse. And then the boys showed that they knew those dogs inside out, didn't they?
Yeah, and then Sammy, you probably know a little bit about this, is how the market moves, like catching the dogs at the right times. These guys were patient and they could just pick off the top of the market, and then obviously a bit of weight of money, but when to bet and how to bet is just such a big element of it, like waiting for favourites to drift, and then it's a cat and mouse game.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we ended up taking a couple of breaks from time to time, was to assess and have those open conversations about where and how we think the market's going to move and when to strike. And then we could reveal to our viewers why we made the decision, what we bet and how we bet.
Yeah, it was interesting too, and they touched upon just some other parts of their game, was sort of managing their workload. Troy only does sort of 4 meetings a week. He's got kids versus Paddy, who's just
machine.
He gets maybe double or triple that through the week, but they both like to keep fresh. So Troy likes to play golf, Paddy plays cricket, so that mental element of being up and being in battle for so long, and then trying to take the edge off it and say, okay, I need a couple of, days away from it and just to keep refreshed and energised. Because, as you know, DK, like it's a sort of lonely world, professional punting, and you need to keep fresh and get out of your own head sometimes.
And your circumstances change. Like, 10, 15 years ago, I was a machine. I was a 6, 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. sort of, no kids, not a care, just married. But now I've got, same thing as Troy, you've got kids sport, you've got to find a balance and keep fresh. So, so even I'm trying to take a day or two off, just than what I used to do just these days to stay fresher. And then I find that helps. It does.
Boy, I'd love a photo of DK 10 or 15 years ago.
We'll dig one out. What about looking
We
rooster?
also had Mikey on a couple of weeks ago. Actually, a couple
Mikey
of months
Knowles.
ago. Yeah, Mikey Knowles on the Little Birdie show. And I thought that was a really interesting transition. Someone from a pro punting background, then moving into the mind sort of space.
Yeah, sort of life coach. Yeah.
Life coaching space. And I just think that they're really in sync. Like they are, although they seem very, very different. They're spot on. As you mentioned, it's about staying fresh and it's about controlling your head, because what's that saying in gambling? Like money lost, nothing lost, confidence lost, everything lost.
Confidence is everything.
Confidence is
Yeah, it
key.
really is.
Yeah, and probably a couple of takeaways on the less, serious side of things was Troy's remote use. How good was he on the IQ box? It was a brand new remote for me, so I was a little bit foreign to it. But his precision on the remote, he just knew exactly where to go back. So this bloke, he just does it on the fly, and he does his tapes on the fly. A few of my friends commented and just said, mate, this bloke knows what he's doing with the remote. And the other thing I thought was pretty funny was Paddy, the lookalikes. He got Darren Jolly. A few people thought he looked like Hugh Jackman, but GRV just need to make him the pin-up boy of greyhounds. I sort of joke that he's a Tom Cruise.
I think if he grew his hair out, there might be a bit of a John Wick element.
SJT. Gives him the tick of approval. Hot under the collar.
Don't know about that.
It was very good.
And then we all cashed up and we rolled into Saturday, and the Fletch Files caught fire early there, Scooty.
They did. They were on a heater. We were at a long lunch with the lads. And, a couple of guys that hadn't seen the Fletch Files before, they were like, it's too easy, or, what's going on? And then as the day sort of wore on, a couple of them, sort of slowed down a bit. But, it was still a profitable set for the day. The Kembler bet, I think.
Well, the out-wide stuff was the go. I think the out-wide stuff went 5 from 5 or 4 from 4, and that's my go. I really zoned in on them. Zoned in on them, and the bookie smash was there.
4 into 270 at Kembler.
Evens.
Extraordinary.
Evens.
Actually,
Evens.
it's shorter.
I'll take it. So what about that? I watched it. They just cruised to the front, and you go, how good's this? But it was off a 1,000-metre race. I was a bit torn. Sort of. I'm backing on Fletch Files back at, don't worry. And then it was cruise. I said, how good's this? And about the 300, everything just got to it. I'm thinking, oh, you idiot, it's off a 1,000-metre race, going to get beat. And then a kick. I don't know how many blokes were yelling at the TV to kick, and it just kept kicking. So God bless it. So that was good, the out-wide stuff there. And I was just saying, Tristan might have softened the blow for the weekend there in the last at Perth.
With trekking. Yeah. It was off the map, wasn't it? $1.75 hard.
Yeah. And I said that last week, that even though favourites getting beat during the day is not exactly that fat because there's a churn, but you get that last shorty in a Group 1 with W Pike, odds on.
Blue jacket.
I'm thinking Tristan might have got something good out of the salvage, something out of the wreck there. Don't worry about that.
I agree.
Well, Friday was a lot of fun. In today's show, we are looking at the Pakenham Cup. We're also checking out Mudgee Cup, which is
I'm on it, Mudgee.
Johnny Walter.
Johnny Walter's on board.
Out wide.
Oh, the great
That's our
man.
Friday special. And then we're heading to Perth for the Kingston Town. So stick around.
The Terrence. It's going to be great.
We've got a huge weekend of racing ahead. Now, boys, who do you use to do your form with?
Puntingform.com.au.
Yep, on board there. No, sectional times. Great split up, great data analysis. If you love sectional times, which is a mainstay of doing the form these days, you'll find all the pros, no matter what area they go, they specialise in, always some sort of sectional times, and plus everything else is there,
You can put all your notes in your horses and create your own database. It lives in the cloud, so the admin of that, just taking that out of the equation is probably worth the price alone.
And everything's in one space. I absolutely love that about it. And you can sort of check off any of those little interesting facts and things like jockey trainer strike rates, jockey track strike rates. I just love knowing those.
I love doing that stuff.
I love having that
if they're hot
at
or
my
not.
fingertips. Exactly
I'll
right.
see a trainer train some winners, or a heap of winners, say Philip Stokes at Pakenham. There you go. And we have Philip Stokes goes at Pakenham.
Exactly.
Things like that.
Literally
he's on fire.
takes you seconds. Make sure you check it out, puntingform.com.au.
Look at the sky, spot the planes. Where would I go on holiday?
Thanks for tuning in to Bet Doctor. I'm your host, Samantha Jane Todd, here with the boys, and we're about to launch into the Pakenham Cup. It's a wide open affair with 6 of the 10 horses at single-digit dividends and a drifting favourite. So we've called in backup and we're asking none other than Casey McCutcheon to join us. Casey, how are you?
Dangerous move, asking a bookie for tips. I would have thought. Hello, guys. How are you?
Nice.
Case, it's picnic racing season, mate. The blood must be flowing. You'd be up and about, jumping out of bed.
Yeah. Spot on, Scoot. I just wondered why there was just a bit more voltage through the skin tie board short this week. There was the Pakenham Cup, which, not on face value, you could probably take or leave, but the picnic season's ramped up. Launched last week with Woolamai. The boys will be at Ballinarring, a couple of bookies on track. So, yeah, that's got the blood pumping again, and we'll have to go again after a big spring carnival.
Now, Case, we've got a lot of male listeners. We sort of skew. The punt naturally skews to males. So for those red-blooded listeners out there, let's get the best couple of tracks to go and have a bet at. Like facilities, I just want to, engulf as much racing action as I can and just gorge on betting. But then, what if I want to get out wide a bit and drink and just, play up a bit? Where are the best picnic meetings just to let
Give us a ranking. Give us a ranking. What do you got there?
What do you got?
There is something for everyone at the picnics, and I can talk from the pre-bookie days when I got there. Probably as part of a Bucks crew. I think it was Sammy Brannigan's Ballinarring Bucks where we tore the joint down, and you can get a lovely little spot, a little pocket where you have your home base. Yeah. The best thing about the picnics is it's 3 letters, folks. BYO, and you get your FUs in. So you get your boys, you get them in a van. You either go to Healesville, an hour and a bit northeast. You go to Ballinarring, an hour the southeast, or you head out to Woolamai. Each of those is they're probably the clubhouse leaders where you can just find a beautiful spot. Yep, position A, and then you've got your home base, as I say, and then you just mingle because it's just an untapped resource of picnics. You go into the betting ring. You've got characters through the betting ring. You can get a bet on. There's bucks parties flying around. The dress-up ratio is probably 28% the last 3 seasons. I think we've got. We had a foot race after the last on the track, probably 3 out of 4 days. One of them was consisted of 40 blokes, all dressed like Super Mario. But in terms of the red-blooded male, so you can get a beer easy, you can get a bet on, and there's plenty going around. Just for the opticians among us.
Do you have a driver, Case? Do you have someone to take you out to the races? So I reckon my old man will put his hand up for the gig if you don't. You might need a driver.
I'm happy to accommodate him on that. I'd love to be able to sit and relax on a nice drive out to the track, but I couldn't recommend the picnics anymore. Just the what's the old castle line? The vibe, the serenity.
The serenity.
No, the vibe. It'd be the vibe these days, isn't it, Sammy? The youngies, don't they all vibe?
Yeah,
isn't it?
we vibe.
You vibe.
There's always probably more value out wide, isn't there, than the obvious. So all the pickles
on
that
a punting front, it is challenging. We've got a couple of feature race days coming up. So like Ballinarring Australia Day is humongous. We got Healesville Cup first week of Jan, Woolamai Cup first week of Feb. So just check your picnicracing.com calendar and get the boys together because obviously we're all stinging to get back out for a day at the track as well, and I couldn't think of a better way to do that than at the picnics.
You've convinced me. Traditionally I'm standing up at a rail somewhere, but I might give it a go this summer.
You'd need a big stick with you, SJT. Now, Pakenham's almost rural. It'll be the city soon.
Feels like it when you're there.
Yeah. Oh, nasty.
No, goon.
No, goon. Case, what do you like in the Cup? It looks a tricky race.
Yeah, well, that's the other reason I was thinking, why am I just got a little bit more spring in the step? Obviously, they're getting back to the tracks, one thing. There was the Christmas. I thought I had Christmas Day penciled in with confidence for December 25 this year, but it came last Friday with Lone Wolves, so that was also another reason. But I thought, from the bookies' point of view, this meeting just has a little waft of punter strip out, and I don't want to mention the B word that rhymes with Ararat that happened, the bloodbath a couple of weeks ago for punters, but they might want to just
a bit wary, tread warily.
Yeah. That's it, DK, because going back through the betting the last couple of years, we had a We had average winners last year of $14 a year, but 2 years prior to that, $17 with absolute blowouts in this race. So Etta James, we now have come to know, was a subsequent, won the Sydney Cup and then competed well in the Melbourne Cup, like a carousel, which I think was a hurdler a couple of years ago, lobbed at 50s. And then in the middle of those, we've got our big Mike who can test this race this year. All at double figures, so just a little bit pensive from the punting point of view. There's a couple of familiar names on the page, and we've got to remember this is a listed handicap. So Brimham Rocks was the first one to jump out. Obviously, probably seems the most bulletproof runner in the race, and I went looking to try and find, the sort of sound Ash Run type horse of that quality that we might blouse it, because that's been the case for its last 2 or 3 runs. It's pretty backable at the 6 to 1. 60 was it current 62?
D-Lane.
Yeah.
60,
The Merlahans have got a share in that horse.
Have they?
Tristan, he might get some back from Friday night.
Well, they're top odds, so I don't know if that says anything, but. Brimham Rocks and Princess Jenny, another quality animal, but geez, they've earned their weight and they've got it in this race.
She's off a foot abscess too, that Princess Jenny. That's not ideal.
Correct. So strike rate's really good, and when I was trying to look at the profile of this race, it's had some changes. This race, it was a 8.5 furlong race for many years, and then became a 2,000 metre race, and the last 4 years it's now a 1.5 mile or 2,500. So it's hard to work up a profile, but with Etta James coming through the race and doing well, I was looking for that Princess Jenny type that might progress, but you can leave me out, as DK says. A mare off 4 weeks break was 61. She ticks a lot of boxes, but that's a no for me. The one I was sort of lobbed with is Attorney. So got that couple of kilo swing on advantage on Brimham Rocks, and hopefully with obviously a very good pilot on board, Nashville Willer, will land in a better spot than it did in the Zipping Classic, because it was no chance on the corner and motored late, whereas Brimham will probably be a couple of pairs back off 2 leaders, which will likely be our big Mike and Knight's Order. And it'll grind from the 600 Brimham Rocks. It's just whether something can blouse it, and if Attorney's closer than it was in that classic race, then it'll be well positioned with that little bit of weight and a little bit of a softer run. That's the way I'm probably going to lean, and I'm probably keen to lay the likes of Princess Jenny. Scarlet Dream got home with Attorney in that race. I think it was the Zipping Classic, like a train. It won't want any rain, and there is a slight fact that it's won 2. It was 2 wins from 3 starts, kicking off its career. It's now 2 from 24. So I'm not sure you could take the 7 to 1 about it, but a decent place chance. And the one I haven't mentioned is Credence. It'll be box seats. Matt Kamani's had a good year. Much better prep for this race this year. He was about 9th up for this race last year when it competed in it. So it just looks like it's a little bit sharper. Willow on. It'll be around the mark, and I think, we're having a little first fall with those mentioned.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's got blinkers on this time around from barrier 1, and the barriers are not far from the first turn as well. So I think this is a race where barriers probably are rather important.
Yeah, the blinker and Craig going back on that horse. Blinkers
exactly.
and Craig.
Exactly,
so, but it's typical Cup, isn't it? Six to 1 the field.
I think Casey's found it. I agree. I had a look at punting form sectionals, and Attorney was unsuited. They really jogged, and it was a barrier.
It was a barrier trial.
It was a shocker.
You want back anything out of that race? Really? You want to put...
And then Hakey was a funny one, because I thought he was knocking the door down in the Bendigo Cup, and then it was just too bad to be true. So they were the 2 horses that I think might bounce back. Casey, you got another best on the card for us?
One of the other races I looked at was the David Burke Memorial, and I thought, this obviously is not commemorating the dangerously underweight high flight that used to play for Richmond.
I went to school with Berkey. I played school footy at Berkey up at Assumption.
He give you a couple of touch-ups?
He what? Played with.
No, but training.
He was as skinny as a rake as a kid, and he just crashed back into packs, just
fearless.
For his own good, just
jumped on top of it too.
Yeah. No, he was, God, he was
skinny. This is the racing administrator that was the chairman of HQ for 7 years, but took over as David Burke was the secretary of Pakenham at the age of 19. I don't know what you guys are up to at 19, but
You can
19's
imagine.
the best age. If I could go back to an age again, it'd be 19.
DK.
It's the one. So where do you want to start?
Peaked
Hey?
You peaked early.
19. Yeah, what will be 19 again? Oh, please.
Too good.
he's helping run I think I was doing accounts payable at the VRC, and they wouldn't let me run the photocopier. So this bloke was doing all right, and he went on a big thing. So the race is got a few chances in it, I thought. It's very hard to probably pot the Tabardance, the favourite. I wouldn't be against, have an issue with laying it at the 6-4, though, because I just felt like there are 3 or 4 other chances in this race, and the market might even out a little bit. You've got the likes of Goldfields and also All Too Young. There's 2 or 3 horses that will be hitting the line really hard here based on their recent performances. Probably Walking Flying is the other one. So 6-4, I thought there might be a bit more percentage flow into its price. And with Ollie, it's not going to get out too far. But I'm absolutely not talking the goat down. But you don't make money back in Ollie on shorties, and so it just gives me that inclination that might be an early lay and back it if it gets out a little bit and try and make a little book here.
I thought Walking and Flying was the interesting runner. I think the horse got a little bit of talent, and
I went looking for a way around Tabardance too, same as when I saw him go at those odds. But he just those All Too Hoying and Golf is a backing trip, you know, and they're a bit one paced. I think they're going to put it on for Tabardance.
Yep.
Shot of Irish, All Too Hoying, all those things on pace. Don't want to take the 250, but I don't really want to lay it either.
Case, you mentioned one that you had your eye on that got I think it was really well backed last start elsewhere in the card.
So I think I'll have to go looking for that. But it was the Amy Johnson Yagi horse.
I'm telling you.
I'm telling you. So I haven't been through this race yet, but I'm still having little nightmares around it. Absolutely scorching the turf the last probably. It ran one of the quickest last furlongs of the day last start, but it probably didn't even get going until the 150. He left it really late. It's a horse that has quite a short burst, but
race six.
Permanent fixture in most Blake's book. That horse never gets taken out of Black books.
I'm telling you. It needs a big roomy track, so I think maybe Pakenham would suit it.
He always finds the
line. That's it. Pakenham's been racing beautifully, and that does. I feel like it does give every horse a chance with the way it races. You see horses come. You know, there'll probably be no disadvantage on the rail early, but they'll definitely be able to come down the middle and out wide. So if Mickey D can just get motoring a touch earlier, she was still at her top on the wire last start. I'd love to see that horse win. They haven't put 70 to 1 up this time. They've put up $11, which is where it ended up last start after opening up at 70 to 1. But a bit of value there, but a tricky day, no doubt. But hopefully, we get the other possibility is we get some rain, which makes things difficult, and maybe we see a deteriorating track. So that will be something the punters will have to keep an eye on.
Just time for a quick pearl while we're talking about that. I'm telling you, training partnerships, improving the training. So Amy was only going fairly. Ash Yagi came in. You just want to be with their horses now. Robbie Griffiths, like full respect to Robbie, but couldn't back his horses. They just didn't find the line. The Cocks come in there. The horses have found 2 or 3 links, and things like that. So these training partners, have a look out for the Robbie Griffiths horses. He normally goes well over summer. He's going to go even better now with the Cock in the joint. Okay, so just something to keep an eye on, punters.
Nice little pearl. SJT.
I'm loving it. All right, well, that's all we've got time for, unfortunately. Next up, we're chatting to John Walter about the Mudgee Cup.
We're getting wide. Thanks, Case.
See you, Case.
All the best, punters.
If you're having a bet this weekend, make sure you head to topsport.com.au. They are the biggest betting bookmaker, as you would have seen on Friday night. They're taking on absolutely everyone and betting the biggest limits. Make sure you gamble responsibly and call 1-800-858-858 if you're concerned. Welcome back to Bet Doctor, wherever you are. Thanks for joining us. This is our country racing special, I suppose you could call it. My name's Samantha Jane Todd. I'm here with the boys, DK and Scoot.
Oh, the real Slim Shady over there. There he is.
The rinse is looking great, isn't it?
Scoot's dyed his hair blonde for anyone who wasn't aware, and really like honing in on the blondes have more fun.
Sometimes I've been going into the bathroom and looking in the mirror and I'm like, oh, I've still got blonder hair. I keep surprising myself.
Yeah, I feel sorry for your partner waking up next to that. That would have been rude this morning. We are joined by John Walter, who's going to talk us through the time-honoured Mudgee Cup this Friday. John, welcome.
First time. Thanks for having me on.
On you, Johnny.
Johnny,
welcome.
You're famous, or in my eyes, you're famous for your tape watching, and you probably need to do that because you're a rider's agent for Josh Parr and Tim Clark, and Tim Clark just seems to bob up all the time. So you must be copying a great sling there for all his action. But your website, racingwatch.com.au, you specialise in New South Wales provincial and Sydney racing. Well, how did you get into the game? Is the big question.
Well, sickness started very early, so I was more of a golfer than a punter, obviously, early, but I played with 3 bookies every Saturday morning, first group out, and as soon as I was any sort of corruption age, the punting moved from not only the golf course to dragging me out to the races, and sort of it grew from there. I attempted the golf for about 3.8 minutes until I realised I was very limited, and found my way back to racing, and went through the Humbleton or Gelco apprenticeship, and then corporate bookies, and then got jack of all that, and ended up back on my own. So now I'm stuck in a bunker by myself, and I answer to a couple of little Smurfs, and that's it.
Now, those little Smurfs right up there in North Korea. Now, the PVL, what rules are you sort of as a rise agent? Are you allowed to have a bet or anything, Johnny? You allowed to bet? You allowed to own them? You allowed to do anything? You allowed to do anything?
Can you breathe?
Am I allowed to talk? Am I allowed to talk? Do they listen to this? Do they listen? Surely they don't listen to this.
No, they'll be tapping into it somehow.
I've been handicapped somewhat. I know the other riders' agents, I'm not probably their favourite person on earth. A lot of them refer to the rules as the John Walter rule, not the rider's agent rule. But I'm not allowed to bet or provide information or anything on any race that they're involved in. So
that Josh and Tim
handicapped me. Yeah, so it's handicapped me from a metropolitan position, which is not great. So I had to get rid of Aaron Bullock, who proceeded to ride 110 winners in the next 4 months. And then I've had to get rid of them. But I've actually, as of a few days ago, a family friend is a lunatic Tegan Harrison up here, and I'm looking into Brisbane because they're I'm under the radar up here, even though I've lived here for 10 years. They don't seem to know who I am. So we might have a crack at Brisbane. But Josh and Tim I'll keep forever. They're really good fun to deal with. Good guys that love their racing, and we fit in really well. So I'll keep them going and probably try and integrate up here as well.
He's very modest, Johnny. I've played golf with him a couple of times, and he's in single figures, and he hits a mean pills. So don't let him get up your skirt for cash. If he's paying for cash, you're in all sorts of trouble.
Did you read that I've got to play 72 holes on Tuesday? They've told me this thing, it's a charity event. I'm like, okay. I've never walked a golf course since 1996. I didn't realise you had to walk.
No carts.
72 holes on Tuesday walking. I could be dead Wednesday, so I'm lucky you got me in on, Thursday. We're done.
You've turned down a game of golf with Aaron Pike on Hamilton Island just so you can talk about the Mudgee races.
Must be big there.
Just so I can talk about Mudgee Cup. I tell you what, I did get a little bit more excited after I had a look at the races. So anyway, hopefully we find a winner.
Well, speaking of the Mudgee Cup, we have Midsummer Rain from 370 into 340, Rhythmic Pulse from 380 into 360, Good Time Charlie from 750 into $5. And then we've got a couple of drifters from Morpheus from $6 out to $7. Great buy in there solidly at $8, and then we're out to sort of some double figures. Where are we heading?
So of the 2 races, this is the race that I thought was far more decipherable. So, and not too far out of the market, unfortunately. I thought, when I was a bit more excited when 440 was the norm about Midsummer Rain last night, it was supposed to go to the highway last Saturday in Sydney, and I don't chase too many highway rides because the boys are sort of, here nor there if they get a ride in the highway usually. But this horse was supposed to go there, and I did chase it. And I thought it would be winning, and unfortunately the owners would be concerned about that hot weather, so got the trainer to scratch, and they've ended up here. I got photos sent through last night from the trainer of the horse. It looks incredible, Midsummer Rain. It looks like it sits right behind 2 leaders, and I'll be very surprised if they beat it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I'd expect it to firm up.
Yeah, I thought the run over 900 was good. My quick squiz of the form, and then the shorty in the race, Rhythmic Pulse, barrier 7 might be a bit awkward there.
Reading between the lines of that 900, so it went 1,000 to 1,200, which I always hate. I think it's a pretty hard thing to do at 1 and ran a career best, and then he dropped it back to 900 just to qualify it for that highway. So I'm when it was held up there and a bit unlucky, I think they were sort of a bit happy and a bit sad at the same time. So then it was Mr. Highway comes here, back to 1,200 looks ideal. And Rhythmic Pulse, that trainer, Nathan Doyle, was just, I think he was training about 40, 50% there for a while, and he's won from his last sort of 2021. So I'd be much more scared of it. I think it is the clear danger, and it should roll across with Lifetime Quest into a pretty on-pace prominent position, but the train is just on the in the middle of a bit of a downturn at the moment. So that makes him a little bit less scary. And this horse has got the turn of foot, I think, to put the ones in front of him away and hold the rest off.
340, you're going to still bet? You think it's going to start short again? You're bullish.
Well, I think 340s, I know they're your men, but they're sort of bottom of the market. They're sort of 380, 390 around. So I'd say it'll probably level up around that 340 marks, probably more realistic.
And what about the mile race? The
Cup.
Yeah, the feature. Yeah.
Holy crap, what about it? So there looks good pressure, which these races normally makes it much easier to sort out because, being a mile race, these sort of horses tend to fall over when they get to that. There's only sort of 2 or 3 you can signal out. But there is an interesting Regal Stage and Highly Desired look to speed. Highly Desired also in the Nowra Cup. So if it comes out and goes down there, it changes this race complexity a lot. But Regal Stage is definitely the one to run down. It'll cruise across, really racing well, but a miles as far as it wants. And then you've got Mukarina sitting right behind them, who hasn't been tested at a mile yet, hasn't run a mile, so hasn't won over a mile. And it looks the one that gets the right run. And then you've got 6 or 7 of them that are sort of map ugly, have the ability to win at different stages of their prep, but need everything to go their way. So it's a really ugly race for mine, the Cup. And it's sort of 4-1 the field. And, I think Regal Stage is honestly the one to run down. If Highly Desired comes out, it makes it much more attractive. But anything could win this, and I wouldn't be surprised. Even Old High Opinion at the top, it went like a rocket first up last time in, and at Warwick Farm. And if it produced that again, even though it's probably going to be last here, it can win, and it'll be 25, 30 to 1. So it's a really, really tough Mudgee Cup.
I thought, again, Regal Stage has got barrier 12, and is it an awkward start, the 1,600 metre at Mudgee?
It is, but it's not going to be in reverse, is it? It'll be
gay
stamped
horse.
urgent.
Yeah, stamped urgent.
Yeah. And they don't care. There's no second thoughts. If it jumps a length slow, it'll be just jammed no matter what. So at least you know where it's going to be.
And the rain, I think there's 10 to 20 mil, but it's not going to hit until Saturday night. So it'd take a fair bit of error from the bomb for it to change from a good fall.
And it's very dry out there at the moment. So
dry
I
as
think
chips.
It'll suck up a bit before it. You have to be unlucky. I remember they had a qualifying day one day there that turned into an absolute nightmare, but I wouldn't be expecting anything like that, hopefully.
Yeah, Mudgee up past Lithgow on the way to Dunedoo, home of Huey Bowman.
The land of the multis. Huey Bowman.
A lot of wine up there.
Sounds very good. Thank you so much, John, for joining us. You can catch more of his stuff at racingwatch.com.au. It is an absolute goldmine. Next up, we're talking to Terry Leighton about a bit of Ascot racing. We're doing the Kingston Town.
Cracking races. Thanks, Johnny.
No worries. Cheers, guys.
If you're having a bet this weekend, make sure you head to topsport.com.au. They're taking on absolutely everyone and betting the biggest limits. Make sure you check these guys out. They are outstanding, and they are, of course, the people who sponsor us for good reason. Make sure you're gambling responsibly. Call 1-800-858-858 if you're concerned. Welcome back. You're listening to Bet Doctor. It's a behind-the-curtains look at how pro punters bet. We get the best of the best on this show, and they will teach you a thing or two if you listen carefully. My name's Samantha Todd. I'm here with DK and Scoot, and we're turning our attention to the west. Here we've got the Group 1 Kingston Town Stakes, and none other than Terry Leighton to join us. Terry.
Hello, Sammy. Hello, guys.
Terence,
I've got to let you in on a little joke. I've just stopped laughing, and I'll probably start laughing again. But we've just had Johnny Walter on to preview the time-honoured Mudgee Cup. And once we pushed pause for the ad break, SJT said, what did he say about Maltese? What did he say about Maltese there? So Johnny Walter was referring to Mudgee as the land of the Maltese, as in multi-millionaires. That's where they live. That's where they've got their holiday houses, and Hugh Bowman's up from Dunedoo, and they've got plenty of money. And then so SJT was scribbling frantically saying, multi, what multi does Johnny want me to have? She's so sick. She didn't want to miss out on a little multi at Mudgee, but... shock and horror, it's actually the people that are absolutely filthy loaded, but SJT, you've got it bad.
I do have it bad. We were actually, Scoot and I were out at dinner last week and talking about dogs, and they, of course, got a new dog recently, a little dash hound, and
Yes.
I talked about wanting to get one of my own dogs,
Yes.
and they were like, oh, what kind of breed? Like a dash hound as well? You know, I know this great breed. I'm like, no.
A greyhound.
Greyhound. It's got to earn its keep. I want to bet on this thing. I'm talking about a real plunge. But I got so excited because Top Sport's actually offering best of the best multis at the moment. So
okay. All right.
top odds guaranteed. Thank you very much. Every Saturday.
Segue. Great segue.
We got there in
I
the
didn't know
end.
how you were going to get out of that one.
Oh, I think after the Lone Wolves on
Just saved
Friday
myself.
night, there'll be a few people investing in some dogs. It looks like a heap of fun. But Terence, straighten the wheels here. The Kingston Town Classic. Do we have to look further than Inspirational Girl? I've got a bit of a crush on this thing now.
Yeah, it's understandable. We've all got a crush on her at the moment. The barrier draw wasn't kind to her, and from a neutral perspective, it makes it quite an interesting race in that sense. So from barrier 18 till where she comes into after emergencies into 15, she will snag right out the back. And look, no matter how good you are, you still need some luck coming from dead last, especially in a Group 1. So you'd be brave taking the $2.20 on offer. But I dare say Willie Pike knows how to get it done in these type of races. There's plenty of speed on it. Questionable speed. The 2 leaders are 80-1 and 50-1, so they're probably going to fall back on us. She actually gets a weight swing on a couple of the fancies because of the conditions. Weight for age, she's obviously a mare. So, look, I can't suggest diving in at the 225, but I'm probably for once going to keep the powder dry, wait for a late price, or maybe even a top tote plus, what is it called? Sorry, best tote on Top Sport.
Yeah, that's a so with in the back to the corporate bookie time, you'd see Pike on a shorty in a big race and things like that. And you probably should go up 250, 270. The punter's going to like it. Everyone's going to warm to it. Put it up 220, 225. You know, put it up as short as you can.
Right.
So that's the
Exactly
mentality
right.
there.
Traditionally, this is a race dominated by the 3-year-olds as well. I mean, if you go back to the last couple of years, KC, Arcadia Queen. A few years before that, it was Perfect Reflection. It's a him playing God. So it's a race dominated by the 3-year-olds, but none of these are at that type of level. None of the real good 3-year-olds got to this race in my mind. So I'm taking a little bit of a step against the 3-year-olds, which is usually the opposite way. I'd attack at Kingston Town.
What about Dom to Shoot? I thought it was not a bad run last start.
Bit of support there as well. $11 into $8.50.
Yeah, I've got Dom to Shoot fatigue, to be honest with you, after his last couple of runs. We've been on fairly passionately, and he's probably been a good thing beaten in both the Farisa. Not the Farisa as much, they just went a bit slowly, but the Guineas, it was just barrier and tempo orientated, unfortunately. But with the 52, they were going to ride him a bit more aggressively here. I mean, just to blow my own trumpet, I've got something on at the 67s early, so I'm going to be serious for him. Hang on, guys. Just pulling the orchestra out. But I'm not. I've already written it in the spreadsheet as a losing bet, actually. So I'm not full of confidence. I don't like Harvey being off, but look, definitely in with a hope. But I'll be hoping for 260 plus late for the girl, and I'll be buttering up on the girl.
Talk to me about the Lee Steers. It's a 1,400-metre race, and we've got William Pike on the favourite again at $2.10. It's called Western Empire. What are we thinking here?
Yeah, we're not really throwing out a huge amount of value today, are we? But I think Western Empire is comfortably your best on the card. Short but sweet. Again, in the Guineas through during the car park and came from near last, was huge. The Faritha sat deep the trip and was only beaten a lip. Drops back to the 1,400 metres, draws a gate for the first time this campaign, should park up right on the back of Santalk, who will be second favourite and who is up in trip. And this is just your horse that just wins for the day, basically. So we're not going to get a fancy price, but I think Western Empire can what do you say, anchor your quaddies and should just be winning. And I think anything above even money is a gift.
Now you're talking.
Yeah,
that's what we want to hear.
Couple them all up and a bit of Yankee.
Yeah,
bit of multi
you can have a multi.
Best of the best multis. I'll be all over it. Don't you worry.
You can have a multi.
Watch this space.
Tez, who do you think's winning the battle on the Perth Carnival at the moment? Are punters winning or the bookies easily?
It's always a ding-donger. It's always a ding-donger. But look, I think the bookies had a fair fill with the Winterbottom last week. Trekking was something like $2.50 into $1.75, and Elite Street was $6-7 out to about $45 late on some exchanges. So I think we've got to give the bookies the last round, but the punters definitely get round one. So it's all going to come down to round three.
Beautiful.
A 3-round fight.
Ding, ding.
Ding, ding.
All right.
Well, it's been a massive, massive episode. I've actually had the most fun, I think, this episode ever. I love this country racing chat.
Some great characters.
Country hard to beat, the country racing. What about Wellsford last week? We didn't give him a little mention. Wellsford, I found it Friday night. What about Terry Bailey? How good was it? So it's in the runs. It was a bit awkwardly placed. It was back in amongst them. And then Terry Bailey, good luck if you're on Wellsford. Well, from then at the 600, it was never going to get beat 1 by 6.5. God bless it. So home you go. I haven't got one this week. A Mornington Friday. That's a bit of an RDO for me.
Yeah, I haven't had time to have a good look. Oh yeah, I skipped through Pakenham and I can't get excited about that. So I'll just be waiting for the Fletcher Files and.
The Fletcher Files. Yeah, the out wide stuff. I reckon it's got an edge on the other stuff just personally, but I love the out wide stuff.
And a little bit of Western Empire with Terry and. Yeah, hopefully Inspirational Girl. I think maybe barrier 18, the way Pike rides, he's probably going to go back anyway, and hopefully she just gets cleared traffic and back to rail true. Hopefully she can run on. Perfect.
I'll be staying out of Pakenham as well. I did notice last night I was being a bit of a sicko and watching the replays of like all the old Pakenham Cups from 2003 and all the rest of that around Pakenham, and it was like a little goat track.
Yeah, it was a little greyhound track.
I remember it.
It was a 200 metre straight.
The fence right near the highway there.
Yeah,
it was a beauty.
Never went to the old track. I've only seen the new one.
And
I've got to give a mention to Racing Victoria for getting that sorted. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Huge improvement.
In 10 years' time, everyone will look back and say you guys are geniuses.
Mm-hmm. Big down there.
Well, I reckon that's all we've got time for. Make sure you tune in next week.
It's our final show for the year. If you want more of our stuff, head to Little Birdie Pod on YouTube and littlebirdiepod.com on our website.
On Twitter, you can find us on @BetDoctorTV.